This week's 1044 is brought to you by Chevron Delos 600 ADF Ultra Low Ash Diesel Engine Oil. It's time to kick some ash. We're currently trying to dig ourselves out of a generational supply chain crunch, but has technology been available all along that could have prevented it? Hey everybody, and welcome to the 1044, a weekly webisode from the editors here at CCJ. I'm Jason Cannon, and my co-host on the other side is Matt Cole. The transportation and logistics industries are taking a beating. Tech is a big part of the solution, but tech being used today in many cases is outdated or it doesn't talk to other systems along the supply chain. Add in enterprise being slow to adopt new technologies and in some cases still using pen and paper. No wonder there are damaging inefficiencies. Digitization along the supply chain can create efficiencies, but those don't mean much if supply chain systems can't talk to each other.
Shippers and retailers are finding a tight capacity market right now. There's simply not enough trucks and trailers to go around. Demand for trucks is at an all-time high, enabling trucking companies to dictate pricing and be more selective in which shippers they want to work with.
We spoke with Chu CEO of Vector, a logistics technology company that works to stitch together all parties in a shipment's lifecycle, to discuss how connected, innovative tech solutions can make a difference in the industry.
The lack of available capacity, a lot of it's due to underutilization. MIT did a study where if we can give every truck driver back 12 minutes per day so that they can spend 12 minutes longer on the road every day, would essentially solve the capacity crisis. And so when you think about that, 12 minutes is a very manageable amount. It's tangible, right? 12 minutes is relatively short. And the way we do that is we enable truck drivers to get in and out of facilities faster. Today, on average, drivers are spending 4.5 hours of the time that they are allotted to work on warehouse campuses, right? They're waiting to check into the facility. They're waiting to unload or load. And a lot of that time can be shortened by enabling technology that allows drivers to get in and out of facilities faster. So what we're doing here at Vector, we're building TSA Pre for warehouses and distribution centers. So drivers can check in on their mobile device. They don't have to wait to talk to the guard. They can get instructions about where to get routed, where to make the drop. And it generates an exit pass where using OCR technology, we can strip the data from the trailer seal, digitize it, make sure that it matches the bill of lading, and enable an easy and fast checkout for both the guards and the drivers. So in terms of technology, like using and deploying it on acute areas of pain, and those areas of pain today are just underutilization of truck drivers and the hours that they can work.
It really all boils down to unlocking more drive time. Technologies that improve operational efficiencies are great, but if it's not allowing a driver more time on the highway, the end result's never going to change. Using Will's comparison to TSA's pre-check program, a driver would get some level of pre-authorization before arriving at a shipper or receiver and expedite a previously mundane manual process.
So some facilities, all they need is an appointment number or a load ID, and that's the only thing that the driver has to enter. Some facilities want the driver to scan or enter their driver's license. So it's up to the facility. It can be easy as just one number, or it can be as more sophisticated with entering actual credentials of the driver. When we think about an electronic or digital process, when checking in or checking out, the BOL is a part of that. So having an electronic BOL or digital BOL as part of the process makes things even smoother. So it's not a competitive technology, but it is part of the workflow.
That brings us back to the 12 minutes Will mentioned earlier, but he says there's far more than 12 minutes available, as every time you can simplify the check-in process for the person at the front of the line, it multiplies by every truck behind them. And he shares an example.
At CocaCola, we've seen drivers go from 66 minutes to 11 minutes. So the amount of dwell time that drivers are spending dramatically reducing in some cases by 5x. So it's returning a lot of time back to drivers. If you're the 12th driver in line checking in to get into a distribution center, if on average, it takes 5 minutes to check in a driver, you're sitting in that line for 50 minutes just to check in. And it's not to say the amount of time you're going to actually spend post guard check, right? but there's no need for that. And the only reason why it takes that long is because there's one guard checking everyone in. So allowing a driver to do it asynchronously, allowing a facility to manage multiple drivers' communications at one time allows for a much easier, much more efficient process.
There are far more inefficiencies in trucking than just dropping off and picking up, but Will says the deployment of technologies that are all interconnected enables a yard management system that is collaborative across the carriers and all the facilities that are in the trailer pool.
So as we think about the different types of pickup and delivery, drop and hook being very attractive, right, from a time savings perspective. One of the things that can really help with the management of trailer pools across facilities, across different carriers, is a collaborative YMS. So providing visibility to all the people in the trailer pool of where trailers are, the current state of them. A lot of times, trailer pools they're great, but if a carrier can't get all their trailers unloaded within a certain time, if they're still waiting for those trailers to be unloaded, they basically have a bunch of tractors without any trailers, and they're not able to move any freight. And that's also leading to underutilization. So having a collaborative YMS can really save a lot of different companies' time.
Eventually, we're going to figure this supply chain thing out. There are a lot of fleets who would benefit right now from investing in new technologies, but are hesitant because they don't want to get caught holding it if everything returns to normal, whenever that is. But Will says a lot of what we're seeing now specific to technology is here to stay and may even become more important ahead. But before you hear what those are, let's hear from 1044 sponsor Chevron Lubricants. Protecting your diesel engine and its aftertreatment system has traditionally been a double-edged sword. The same engine oil that is so essential to protecting your engine's internal parts is also responsible for 90% of the ash that is clogging up your DPF and upping your fuel and maintenance costs. Outdated industry thinking still sees a trade-off between engine and emission system protection, and Chevron was tired of it. So they spent a decade of R&D developing a no-compromise formulation. Chevron Lubricants developed a new ultra-low ash diesel engine oil that is specifically designed to combat DPF ash clogging. Delo 600 ADF with OmniMax technology cuts sulfate ash by a whopping 60%, which reduces the rate of DPF clogging and extends DPF service life by 2.5 times. And just think what you can do with all the MPGs you're going to add from cutting your number of regens. But Delo 600 ADF isn't just about aftertreatment. It provides complete protection, extending drain intervals by preventing oil breakdown. Before you had to choose between protecting your engine or your aftertreatment system, and now you don't. 600 ADF from Delo with OmniMax technology, it's time to kick some ash.
Back to that collaborative YMS, I think YMS is going to be a bigger thing post-pandemic. I think contactless pickup and delivery solutions are going to be here to stay, not just from a safety perspective, but really from a visibility and efficiency gain. There's a lot of wins there. I think visibility platforms are continuing to gain speed. So the P44 and 4 kites platforms. So I think those trends are here to stay, and they're going to be even more important post-pandemic.
Detention and dwell time are consistently cited by drivers as one of their biggest points of frustration, which is why Will and his company is focused on getting drivers in and off property as quickly as possible and eliminating a time suck, time spent waiting around for information. While Vector's platform is shipper-facing, Will said there are a few things carriers can do on their end to lean on technologies that inch drivers closer to grabbing those 12 extra minutes of drive time.
Making sure that drivers are able to use their telematics devices and use the workflow that is set up for them so that they're not physically handing paperwork back. They're not relying on word-of-mouth communication, allowing carriers to build for scale so that there's less manual processes, both on the driver's side and in the back office. So continuing to invest in digital tools to help automate and bridge the gap between driver and back office.
That's it for this week's 1044. You can read more on ccjdigital.com, and as always, you can find the 1044 each week on CCJ's YouTube channel. And if you've got questions, comments, criticisms, or feedback, please hit us up at 1044trucking@gmail.com or give us a call at 404-491-1380. Until next week, everybody stay safe.